Hello and greetings everyone, Darth Boreas here. Today I will do another Star Wars video about the size of the galaxy and the potential of the entire storytelling area. Now, on this video I have some lighting issues because it's really dark outside right now, but I think it's also kind of fitting for Star Wars because there's always a dark and a light side, so that's working as intended, I guess. Now for the galaxy map that you see here, there is a lot of names, like all these tiny white labels that you see there. All of these are planets that are officially known, are canon, and are most importantly somewhat visited and fleshed out. Now the important thing to realize here is that each of those are planets. So usually when we visit a planet in Star Wars, we only see a tiny fraction of it. If you say Tatooine, we are always near the Isley station. If you look at Coruscant, we are also always seeing pretty much the same stuff. If you look at Alderaan, we always see the big city. That goes for most things in Star Wars in terms of planets, where we visit a planet and always see pretty much the exact same setting. That is mostly, I guess, due to movie sets being quite expensive to build and recycled for other materials. Sometimes it's because of game design, because there just is a limited space to work with. Sometimes it's probably because there really isn't all that much on the planet except for that. So if you look at Roman Cars in KOTOR, the settlement that you see there pretty much is the only civilization on the planet. Now that's the important thing, civilization, because all of these planets have some form of sentient beings on them. Well, most of them do. And the entire idea is that I'm trying to get to, the point is that a planet is much bigger than one setting. If you look at Earth, do you think if you visit, say, the Sahara Desert and have a small oasis village as the center of the movie, and that's representing the entirety of Earth, that we are doing the planet any justice here? Or is there more to Earth? What if we have a visit to Antarctica and visit a small research station in the midst of the ice? Is that representative of the entire planet? What about the Himalayan mountains with a small monastery on a mountaintop? Is that representative of the entire thing, of the entire planet? Would you rather have New York City represent the entirety of Earth, or Shanghai or Tokyo or something like that? Or do you want to look at the Amazon forest and just look and say, here, that's what Earth is? No, there is so many different areas of Earth that look completely different, that have completely different cultures and everything different. And I think in Star Wars that is rarely ever explained. Like, there is some species that we know have different cultures within the same species on the same planet, but it's mostly seen as uniform. There is entire desert planets, so what you see is what you get, basically. Same for ice planets, but there's many planets that are similar to Earth, and yet we only see tiny fractions of them. And even on a desert planet or on an ice planet, you can have a huge variation of scenery, of cultures, of species living there, of plant life. Well, plant life is difficult but possible, animal life and whatever. You can see a lot of things in, say, the ocean. The ocean is basically speaking uniform in terms of more or less similar conditions, but the ocean is huge and it differs wildly depending on how deep you go or where on the planet you go, from what lives there, what you can see there, how things are formed, and there's many cool things to see. And what I want to get at is, if you pick any single of those planets, there's not a single one that is properly fleshed out yet. It's always just a small look on to what's probably going on that planet. So if you are a storyteller, you can take any of these planets and flesh them out more and have something be on the planet that hasn't ever been officially mentioned. There is a very high probability that there is more life on a planet than that we already know about. That there are way more cities, more cultures, whatever, that are there that we simply haven't mentioned. And to give you an example on the vastness of this universe, by official statements, the entire galaxy has over a billion with a B, inhabited planets. So planets with some form of life on them. We are not even speaking about lifeless planets. There's probably, I don't know, judging by real life standards, it would be insane, because there had to be trillions, if not quadrillions of planets. But in Star Wars, since the galaxy is mostly handcrafted and there is an unusually high density of life forms, I'd say it's maybe 10 times as much planets, maybe 100 times as much. So we're speaking about maybe 100 billion planets in total. And by also official sources, there's 20 million species in this galaxy. So what does this mean? If you imagine Earth and its inhabitants, that means that, basically speaking, every Star Wars fan can easily have their own planet, completely flesh out their own planet, and there would still be room for more. If you have species, 20 million species, we have seen, I don't know, 100, maybe 100 species in Star Wars so far. So an insanely small, tiny fraction of what's out there. So Star Wars does have insane amounts of room for your own stories on the planets that are already there, by the way, with the species that are already there. But you're completely free to create your own species and your own planet and put them basically somewhere on the map where it somewhat makes sense for them. Just because things haven't been mentioned doesn't mean that they exist. That's how the canon grows, because new writers explore more things that just haven't been mentioned yet, but have always been there. We just haven't gotten to that. So just because you are a visitor of Earth and have never been to Japan doesn't mean Japan doesn't exist. It just means you haven't been there yet. You haven't heard about it yet. So same for the galaxy. There's all kinds of things that could exist there. Like basically anything you can imagine could be there. You can have any weird species. You can have any weird planet. I made the argument that basically almost all franchises that exist could be settled within the Star Wars galaxy with no need of a multiverse. Cthulhu, whatever, Conan, you can settle that in that galaxy. There is no problem doing so. Sorry. You can absolutely do whatever you want here from a storytelling perspective. And if you look at the map, there is a very large portion of the galaxy, almost half of it, that is entirely unknown. Those are the so-called unknown regions. Now we do know a very little bit about it. It's mostly ruled by the Chiss Ascendancy and the Grisics, something like that. They're enemies basically, and these unknown regions are, well, mostly unknown. There could literally be anything in there. We just don't know. Similar, in the known galaxy we have wild space, which is also an area of the galaxy that is basically completely unknown, that has never been researched, and that's in the Star Wars canon universe, like in character. It's unknown. So even the inhabitants of the galaxy don't really know about the wild space or the unknown regions. And there's so many places in the galaxy that are, technically speaking, in world known, but have never been touched by any writer. So there's much room there. Some areas are more accessible than others. The deep core, as example, is also completely unknown for some good reasons. Unknown regions are difficult to traverse because there's lots of anomalies and black holes and force waves there, and the wild regions are simply not connected to the hyperspace network. So there is reasons why these haven't been explored in world, and there could literally be anything there, because again the Star Wars galaxy is handcrafted, which means that who knows what kind of strange experiment took place there. But if you want a world that is connected to the hyperspace lanes, then you can just basically pick any area of the galaxy and have a completely yet unknown planet with species and stuff put there, and retroactively integrate them into the canon, or better said, the fanon in that case, because there is literally no reason why there wouldn't be another world that has been interacting with the rest of the galaxy for thousands, if not millions of years, and we just haven't heard about them yet. Like, that just happened in, say, the original movies. We see very few species at all, and later movies introduced new species, and the TV shows introduced more species, and so on and so forth. So there's really no reason why you couldn't introduce a species that you want to have here. Now, basically, that would of course be headcanon. If it's very popular, it may become fanon. But the important thing is that you can, without violating any lore from Star Wars, you can have anything you want. You can have you can have Faerun from Dungeons and Dragons right there. It wouldn't violate any of the canon. It could be there. We just haven't heard about it yet, and that's what I said when what I meant when I said that the Star Wars universe offers so many opportunities, even for crossovers, because the only reason why that didn't officially happen is obviously copyrights and issues like that. But in world, there is no reason why, say, the Witcher franchise couldn't take place on one of those planets, or why the whole Marvel thing doesn't happen somewhere in there. Like, there is legitimate ways to have whatever you want to take place in Star Wars to be somewhere in this insanely huge galaxy. All you have to do is do it. And with that said, I think I will close the video and just want you to look at the map again. Like, we have about half of the galaxy completely unknown, even in world. And there is even far out territories that are also basically completely untouched and unknown, that are just a bit further out. There is so many things that exist, and if that's not enough for you, in Star Wars there's other galaxies that exist for real, and that sometimes, if very very rarely, even interact with the galaxy far far away. So basically unlimited potential, not unlimited power, but unlimited potential. You can do whatever you want. If you know any franchise you always wanted to cross over with Star Wars, go for it. If you want to make your completely own thing, go for it. There's no restriction, there's no reason why certain things couldn't happen in Star Wars. It's literally a galaxy so vast and so diverse and so magical and so technologically advanced that basically anything you can imagine could happen in there. If you like Star Trek, how about Star Trek, the Delta Quadrants and whatnot take place in the west side of the galaxy? Could happen. There is no real reason not to, but you know, there is lots of possibilities. I mean, if you go Star Trek, the Q, they obviously use some kind of force, so you do you, basically. I'm not wanting to restrict the fans here, because in my mind the galaxy is so huge you can really do whatever concept you like, and it could be settled in Star Wars without any major conflicts. Minor conflicts, sure, but you can work around those. Major conflicts, I don't see any. You can really go nuts. Maybe the planet for Game of Thrones is somewhere in the unknown regions. Who knows? Could really be anything. So with that said, I think this has dragged out long enough. I thank you for watching and wish you a wonderful day. May the Force be with you.